Okay, everyone, welcome to the Wednesday, October 16th Caucus and Work Session of the Albany Common Council. Mr. Jimenez, please call the roll.
Adams. Anane. Valerian. Clark.
Here.
Farrell.
Here.
Flynn is absent. Frederick is also absent. Hoey.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Keegan is absent. Kimbrough.
Here.
Love is absent. Robinson is also absent. Romero is absent. And Zamer.
Here.
All right. 8 present. We're also joined by Council President Corey Ellis, City Clerk Shaniqua Jackson, Senior Assistant Corporation Counsel Brett Williams, Research Counsel Jake Eisland, Legislative Director Brian Jimenez, Fonts Branch Coordinator Ramisha Hill, and Junior Policy Analyst Alyssa Kamar. And we are now joined by Councilmember Valerian.
Okay, thanks. Just getting right into the agenda. We don't have the meeting minutes yet, but we should have the October 7th meeting minutes by the time we get ready for our meeting. So my intention would be to offer those for passage.
Just a point of clarification
jumping
on
back
that.
to the public hearings.
Sorry, just a point of clarification on that. Because it was conducted with an executive session, a draft has been posted online, but it hasn't been circulated just yet.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, so yeah, we'll start out with 2 public hearings. One is the budget, the first budget hearing, and second public hearing will be for the franchise agreement with Spectrum. That's how we'll start. Then I'll offer the minutes. Then into the agenda, no local laws. Oh, actually, yes. One local law. So by Ms. Frederick, a local law overriding the tax levy limit for fiscal year 2025. She's not here. Okay. But more than likely, that'll be a referral to the Finance Committee. That's local law K of 2024. Next, to ordinances introduced. It's got ordinance by Mr. Flynn. It's ordinance 29-102-24. It's a resolution in relation to ensuring quick and effective removal of potholes. Will be a referral to General Services. Then next, on to the budget, the bonding ordinances. So we're looking at, by Ms. Frederick for Finance, ordinances 30-102-24 through ordinance 64-102-24. Is Ms. Frederick going to be here tonight? No?
She said she was unable to make it.
Okay. All right, intros and referrals to finance for all of those.
And Councilmember, I just have a few, I won't call them amendments because they're not introduced yet, edits, let's say, to a few of the ordinances. Just, I think 3 or 4 of them need a little bit of tweaking, so I will get those out ideally before Monday,
Okay.
before
All right.
introduction.
Good. Thank you. And next on to resolutions introduced. So by Mr. Anani, resolution 117-102-24. It's declaring October 20 to be Community Media Day. This is something we do every year. We're usually all co-sponsors. So yeah, that's resolution 117-102-24R. The next, also similarly situated, it's a resolution by Mr. Anani, 118-102-24R, declaring October 21 through 27, 2024 as Free Speech Week. Again, we do it annually. All members are typically listed as co-sponsors on that. Did you want to say anything, Mr. Anani, or no, you just say it that day? Okay. Then next, by Mr. Hoey, it's resolution 119-102-24, resolution appointing Emily Solwick as a member of the Community Police Review Board. It's going to be a referral to Public Safety. Then next, also by Mr. Hoey, resolution, the council reappointing Milton Arroyo as a member of the Community Police Review Board. The reason this occurred is that he was filling in a small, short space of time for the last.
It was just a month.
Right, yeah, it was a month left in the last
For Matt
term.
Matt
and-
Ingram was the previous, he stepped down in
You said
June.
Ingram?
Matt Ingram.
Okay, yeah, and so this is going to start his first full term, so.
Now, can we just bring that up? And, I mean, we just saw him a month ago.
Yeah, I believe so. We shouldn't have to bring him back because we just recently had him. So all members okay with that? Okay, all right. So, yeah. Yes, we'll be moving on that. Then next, by Ms. Romero's resolution 121-102-24R. It's a resolution of the council urging the New York State government to pass a budget that raises taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers. I think she reached out to a couple of members to see who wanted to co-sponsor. I don't know if you all know, but otherwise we'll just do the roll call and go through with that resolution. She can speak about it then. And so then also, it was, let's see, we're going to be taking up, we're going to check in with Ms. Keegan. She had a resolution for the encouraging community to support the Equal Rights Amendment. It's 5324R. She will not be at our next meeting, but we were trying to get it passed before, because it has to do with voting rights and all that stuff. So we're going to talk to her, and if she says it's okay to move forward with it, we will. Otherwise, we'll take it up at our November 4th meeting, which is like a day before the election. We want to kind of get ahead of it and get it passed in advance of that. So you put a star by that one. And then also resolution by Mr. by Ms. Frederick. It's a resolution of council approving transfer of budget funds that will change, and this is for the police and fire, right?
I believe that was the case.
It's 107, 101, 24. Yeah. And so we'll possibly be taking that up also. It's 107, 101, 24R. It's resolution, change authorized positions included in the 2024 budget, which will affect the salaries. And again, it's the police department and the fire department that those are in. All right. So that's it for our agenda. So this is time to talk about whatever we want. Mr. Hoey?
Yeah, I wanted to find out, and I know Councilmember Frederick isn't here, but raising a law overriding the tax levy limit for the year 2025. If I remember correctly, it's a 2% limit? So are we going to raise it more than the 2%? And again, I'm not sure. Maybe
So it's not actually 2%. It's actually a formula I'm not sure what our formula is, but we're not expected to go over whatever that amount is.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Governor Cuomo years ago, everything was 2%. I didn't realize there was a special formula. Thank you.
Ms. Farrell,
I just wanted to,
leadership stuff?
yeah, just talk about our leadership meeting, where we talked a bit about, and I'm looking through because I took some interesting things down, but they said that it was in one of the list of schools was in one of the press releases. I personally could not find it, so I asked for a separate list. I figured I would read it out loud, and if anybody else missed it, we can share it out if people want to know. The schools will be coming online, like they're basically what they're doing is I think that they went from where there was already some infrastructure there and putting those in, and then they're kind of going along from there. So they're moving along and trying to do them as quickly as they can. As soon as one goes up, the first month that it's there, you just get a warning. On the warnings, there is no speed, like the speed that the person was going is not on the warning ticket. However, it is on the actual ticket. So the things that you might have heard about where people were like, I got a ticket for going 21, or like I got a warning for going 21, they don't actually know how fast they were going. And they were not going 21, they were going over 30, because that you can't get a ticket in the speed zone from the automated ticket thing if you're going 30 miles an hour and under. You can get a ticket from a police officer. So I had some outreach from people saying, well, the APD spokesperson said that the speed limit was 20. And yes, in their quote, because their job is to make sure that people follow the law. The law is that you're supposed to be going 20 in school speed zones, which is something that has been the case for as long as I can remember. So this is not a new law. The only thing that's different right now is that now there's actually an accountability measure in place to make sure that people actually do that. So if anybody pushes back on this, they're just saying that they really did not care about whether or not they sped near a school, which I find incredibly disappointing. Because there is a very specific reason why there is a lower speed limit. There is hard data that shows the slower you go, the fewer traffic incidents there are. And when you have a school, you have children coming and going from it, and it's very important to follow that low speed. So if people I can read the list if people want, or I can just send it out to, I don't know if people want to hear it, I can just send it. But just a little bit of the data. So it's 2/3 of the people that have gotten tickets so far were from outside the city. And there are some pretty shocking speeds. There was people going 60 miles an hour in a school zone. So this is something, and they're regularly 50 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour. So this is something that it's really needed. It is absolutely needed because this does put people, and especially children, at risk. So from my perspective, again, I love being fiscally responsible. I love revenue coming in. This is not about revenue. This is about safety, and this is an opportunity to actually have our streets safer. And also, I know for me that I have a lot of Western Avenue and Washington Avenue. A lot of us have big streets in our ward. This is one of the only ways to really slow down traffic. And if people are going this fast with a billion signs out saying that they're in a school speed zone and they're going to get a ticket, can you imagine how fast they were going before that? So this is definitely will hopefully improve a lot of safety for people.
I didn't have my thing in. What was the list that you had?
You couldn't hear her. He's just
I have a list of the 20 schools. They did say, and they're also going to be sharing the methodology. They're going to dig it out.
Yeah, could you read it? I think it's important.
Yeah, I can
Thank you.
absolutely read it. We have Henry Johnson Charter School on Watervliet Avenue, New Scotland Elementary School, New Scotland Avenue, Green Tech High School, Oneida Terrace, Pine Hills Elementary School, North Allen Street, the Academy of Holy Names, New Scotland Avenue, KIPP, Tech Valley Primary, Middle, and High School, Northern Boulevard, Schuyler Achievement Academy, Clinton Avenue, Giffen Memorial Elementary, Rensselaer Street, Arbor Hill Elementary School, Manning Boulevard, Blessed Sacrament School, Central Avenue, Albany Academies, Hackett Boulevard, Albany Leadership Middle School. They're deciding between, because you can only put it on one street according to the enabling legislation in the school speed zone. They're looking at whether they're doing it on Eagle Street or Park Avenue. Albany Leadership Academy for Girls, Hackett Boulevard, Hackett Middle School on Delaware Avenue, Toast on Delaware Avenue, Myers on Whitehall, All Saints Academy on Western Avenue, Eagle Point Elementary on Western, Ash on Whitehall, and Albany High on Washington Avenue.
Now, do they have an idea when this will be finished, like all 20 rolled out? They
We
give you-
can ask. They're trying to get them up as quickly as they can. So I think they would just be saying like as soon as possible, but
Okay.
we can ask and get a bit more information. I think it is nice to know exactly what the methodology is, but it is, the majority of our schools in the district, so.
And I had another question. We did pass the 25 mile an hour speed limit for most of the streets in the city. Will the schools stay at 20? Are we, okay.
Yeah, that doesn't,
People
so
were
that does not, yeah, the school speed limit is not changing from 20. Our ability to change the speed limit to 25 through the majority of the city, there are a few roads that will stay at 30, did not impact the school zones.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just finishing up with the leadership, we did have a discussion about the ethics and workforce culture, that meeting also, and there was a request from from the administration that we actually get both sides of the story. So I thought they'd give us a hard time about this, but they suggested that we pull the other side of this and question them. I mean, we certainly have the right to, based on our authority. So, and it only makes sense to do that, right? So we'll get the supervisors or any of the folks that we come up with through the investigation and pull them in and ask them questions also. Makes sense, right? Or do you think it not makes sense? It makes absolute sense, I think. So, yeah, to hear both sides of it.
Yeah, when we had last met, we heard that there was difficulty in getting documentation. And,
Yeah, we're not there yet. It's moving along, but we're not quite there yet. But then from the meeting, the leadership meeting, there was, hey, you're gonna get both sides of this, which, yeah, we should be questioning supervisors about their policies and some of the stuff that we've come up with from our meeting. So we'll have to plan, or you all have to plan a ad hoc committee meeting and pull those, I guess, name people in to finish your questioning with them. So that came out of the leadership meeting also. So, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I'm grateful that they're putting speed cameras in front of schools. I watch it every day. But a long time ago, we had a traffic safety division, and it was led by Pat Fox, Hal Warner, and I don't know Frank's last name. Frank Gallo. And they were a presence in the city of Albany. It's a crying shame that we have the issues that we have in front of our schools, but we can't ignore the issues that are throughout the city. And, we wouldn't have to lower the speed limit. The speed limit became an issue in the last 15 or so years when they eliminated traffic safety. And once again, as I said about community centers, as I said about proactive approaches, what do you think the city is going to come to, if you don't have proactive programming, kids are going to run loose. If you don't have traffic safety, cars are going to fly through the city, and that's just what's been happening. And my frustration is we have APD, and we listen to them being undermanned over and over, but they're not undermanned. If we watch throughout the city how they're utilized, and I see the faces that are made when I speak, but I live in my truth. There are 6 cars for traffic stops. That's not how our force should be utilized adequately when they're saying that they're understaffed. Because I hear people, I know myself, I called the South Station and let the phone ring for 10 minutes, no answer. But I don't want to harp on that, right? What I wanted to talk about tonight is Keith Irish. Keith Irish, and I'm glad that he had a meeting downstairs, and he's not here because I didn't want to say what I want to say. The very first day I walked in this chambers, this man has been here. He's been to more meetings than any one of us as individuals. We've all missed meetings. He doesn't miss meetings. The information that he's talking about, PEG access, all my life I grew up watching local people talk to us through the access, public TV. Just because people don't like him doesn't mean he should be excluded. Not only does he come to every meeting that we have, but if any time you in the city and it's a city function, Keith Irish is there. And when we look at the disconnect between people and local government, it's because of how guys like that get treated. When they, the complaints that they have about Keith, when he attends the meetings, he's frustrated. That's his passion. He truly believes that mass media is a connecting point to our people. It's a lot of kids that could benefit from having the opportunity to work behind the camera through public access. It's free, it's a tool, and when I listen to some of the points that he makes about us paying Schenectady, and every time you go through the cable channel, you don't see public access. I think that we need to take some heavy consideration of the block that has been put on him. It's time for us to get past, and you know, I've had conversations with him on an individual level about things that he can do to help us out. But I think whatever problem that people have with him, it's time for a new conversation. People that want to come down here and participate in the things that we do should be recognized, because if anybody else did what he does in this building, they wouldn't have a problem getting access to whatever their interests are. And so I think that it's a bad sign that we just continuously block him out. He's a gentleman. He's shown us that he loves our city, and I would love to see him get the opportunity, and I have already started having conversations with him to strengthen his chance, and he's receptive to it. But you know, a lot of times you got to understand that some people who live in the city feel strongly about what's going on, and you know, people look the other way. That's your choice. But I'm a person that's going to speak up for what I feel like is right, and I think that we have been wrong. We have wronged him for a long time, and I would like to see us have a conversation about entertaining some of the things that he has advocated for 7 years in front of me, and to no avail. He's prepared, he's detailed, you know, he's point blank specific in his facts when he talks about numbers and things of that case. Anybody else that came up in here as prepared as he is, generally we work with them. And I would love to see him get the chance to be involved, and if it's a need to make a change, then we'll make a change. But like just I feel bad every time I see him, and he's like one of the first faces that you see every day that you come down here. So I would hope that people can be open to this conversation because it's been going on for too long. And if I was him, I would want my chance. And I advocate for the underdog, and he's definitely the underdog in this situation. Thank you.
Mr. Ballerin.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilman Johnson, for your support of one of the three candidates. The PEG Access Committee did interview three candidates, and we're still in the process of selecting. It's never easy when we have any selection and you have multiple people who are interested in volunteering their time. I think we're very lucky that we have so many people in our community that are willing to, again, volunteer their time. At the last meeting, before we went into executive session, I thanked him for his time. I thanked him for his application. I thanked him for his energy. And I also made it clear that it's never personal when we have these difficult decisions to select who we have, and we have multiple people applying. It's never personal, and that we do value his input. And I mentioned the change that was done for the franchise agreement. Originally, it was going to go to the ad hoc committee, but then because some comments he made, leadership changed it to have it go to the planning committee, and it's on the agenda for the planning committee on the 28th. So, it's not just myself, but I do believe that the body and members do value his input. He is still in consideration. We need to meet again and make that final selection, but it's, we have good people, and it's tough. It's tough, and these boards are never easy to fill, and I think this is some of the hardest times. I mean, the sustainability board, there's people who've applied multiple times and have not gotten an opportunity to get on that board. And it's just who else is applying, different skills that people are bringing, different perspectives, different that's being brought, and how would they add to the boards that we are looking to fill. So, so it's again, it's not an easy decisions that have to be made through these committees. But again, I'll say it, we are lucky to be in that position, to be able to select and to have multiple individuals wanting to, multiple qualified individuals. I mean, good people that many of us know. In time and time again, we've had to not give an opportunity because there's just somebody else that has what the board may need at the time versus what an individual may, what another individual may have. So, the ad hoc committee will take your comments into consideration, Councilmember Johnson. So I do appreciate that. And again, we will be meeting probably in early November to try to make a selection from the three residents that have put their names up, that we all appreciate their willingness to put their names up, and we all appreciate their willingness to volunteer and serve for our city. So, thank you.
Mr. Hoey.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Johnson. I wanted to ask Keith something tonight. I was going to ask him for advice, and I agree with you. I mean, he's here. One of his big gripes that he's talked to me is that we put people on the board that don't live in the city. So I just hope that's a consideration, that we look for a city resident when we do fill that board. And right before, I wanted to bring up, when we were talking about the ethics, a lot of people in my ward have looked at it on YouTube, and I've gotten quite a few calls how upset they are with the way, what's come out. So it is good to get the other side, but it is being looked at, and I just wanted to point that out, that, people couldn't believe how people are being treated. So it's really good, and I just want to bring up, I don't have cable, so I can't look at public access. But what I do have is access to YouTube, and I go through most of our meetings, afterwards and to review. Sometimes I miss something. So having us out there that we can look at, people in the city can look at, people outside the city can look at, is a real useful tool. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Mr. Anani.
Yeah, thank you. And as many of you did, I sent out an email this morning regarding, some concerns regarding the vacancy study, and particularly just about the delay that we are seeing, et cetera. I'm someone who strongly believes in, definitely in the checks and balance, right? When the council say that we want a report or document to be done, that it is with the same urgency as if the mayor was to ask for that. I've always tried to make sure that, the council's authority are always exuberated whenever we ask a department head to do something. So that is always the spirit that I always come from when I advocate on behalf of the council. We approved funding for the vacancy study last year, during last year's budget, but the timeline was supposed to be done by May, and I understand that there has been some delays, and for those who read the email, understand where I'm going. But at this point, I believe that it will be important. And when I said the email, I want to make an amendment to it. I know I said that to conduct an outside source vacancies for the accuracy and data, et cetera, but I want to make an amendment to that. Maybe I think we just put money aside to really focus on whatever the outcome is. Because again, whatever the outcome is, I believe that the council, the city needs to set money aside to, whether to support it or to defend whatever the decision that are being made. And so again, I did send out an email, check it out, and I think at this point, it's not to go against what the vacancy study produced, but also there are going to be some outside forces that we will have to also counter. So I just think that it's important that we set some money aside to really address whatever the outcome is, and that's that.
Thank you, Mr. Nani. So just thinking about the timeline, I don't believe the report was supposed to be done in May. I believe the data collection was supposed to be completed by May, and then they were supposed to be compiling it for maybe a July date or something like that, but it wasn't supposed to be finalized by then, from what I remember about our discussions on it. So, but you're right, we should have it by now. This is languishing, it's taken too long, so yeah, we can have further discussions, and in the finance committee, when you're talking about setting aside funding for it, that's where that's going to happen. That discussion is going to happen. So, Mr. Ballerin.
No, I was just going to say I think I think we're all very appreciative for the work that all the staff have put in throughout, the last year in moving this forward. And I think it's a good step forward to understand that there will be some afterchecks no matter what the report comes out with, and that we should have some resources put aside to address those afterchecks no matter how the report comes in. So I think that there's nothing. I don't have concerns about having that conversation. I think we're very lucky to have loyal staff that put in hours and weeks and days in trying to get this done for us, and probably didn't have very pleasant phone calls, as I said yesterday. I'm sure those conversations on the phone were very pleasant, and so that's all appreciated. But I think it would be prudent of us to understand that there will be afterchecks based on the survey, and we should have some resources put aside to be able to address those afterchecks. So I look forward to those conversations, and I look forward to the report. I think the Commissioner said she'll try to get it to us before the budget process is completed, to get a better estimate of how those afterchecks will be, as well as you know, have something for us to, something more concrete to talk about. But I do think, you know, I think the number right now we're looking at is 125,000 to put aside to address the aftershocks of the report. And unfortunately, we knew when we moved that forward last year that there would be some aftershocks. So I think it's important that we put the resources there to be able to sustain it. Thank you.
Mr. Holly?
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry, I don't want to overtake this meeting. One of the things I wanted to bring up, and I just thought of, you know, we had a person eaten alive by a dog, by dogs, not one dog. So we are trying to put together a public safety meeting. I know Councilmember Farrell brought up during the budget hearings, we only have 3 animal control officers in the city. So it's, you know, is that enough for 24/7 coverage of the city when we have problems? So, you know, it was a shocking story, and very gruesome, and it's something that I think we should look at, where you have a person has over 20 dogs, and it seemed like they were training them to be vicious. So we might have to do legislation or something, but, you know, I mean, I own a dog, but, you know, it doesn't bite people. So anyhow, I just want to let everybody know, and if anybody has any questions, hopefully, I reached out to the chief. I haven't heard back. I also wanted to say goodbye to him as the council, but I haven't heard if he can make the meeting. I think we had it set for the 22nd, but we'll let everybody know on Monday how we make out. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
And I just would like to follow up on that. It was heartbreaking to hear that story, but even more confusing is 24 dogs in a house and you don't live in Albany. Like, that part right there is bothersome, and I'm glad to hear, you know, this come up, because this has been a big conversation throughout the city, and these are the type of things that, you know, I look forward to discussing as a council. So I think that some type of measure should be taking place so this scenario doesn't happen again. You know, 24 dogs and you live in Cohoes, but the dogs are in Albany. So thank you.
All right. No one has anything else. We're adjourned. All right. Thanks.